Hello from my attic. Ted Adler from Union Street Media. I'm here today with my friend Bobby Bryant. No relation to Kobe, but definitely you're better at prop tech than he was at basketball.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So we recently connected because we both have a passion for voice search, and DOSS is, I think, one of the more interesting companies I've come across recently around the voice search world. So I thought we could start off if you tell the folks at home a little bit about you and a little bit about DOSS.
Yeah, so my name is Bobby Bryant. I am the CEO of DOSS. At DOSS, a lot of people ask me, well, Bobby, what does DOSS mean? And it means Digital On-Demand Software Systems. DOSS, wow, that idea came back in 2011. You know, a lot of people, and you're like, well, how long have you been working on this startup? But the idea came back to me when I saw in 2011 the two winningest players of Jeopardy playing, IBM Watson. And IBM Watson won the $1 million game of Jeopardy against these guys. And then a few months later, I saw where Apple introduced the world to Siri. And I was at that moment enamored. And I was like, wow, what if we could do this for real estate? You know, what if I could pull out my cell phone and ask my intelligent assistant any question about any property, and it gives me accurate, easy, and instant answers. And that's what started our journey of a lot of research and development to figure out how can we radically evolve the way people search and transact property online around the world.
Well, I think one of the things that when I think about voice search is, in my case, like I was in a bike accident a couple of years ago. And so I had to kind of totally change the way I use devices for a period of time. And so that's what personally really brought me into voice use. The data around voice usage, like, the increased number of devices we have that are voice driven, it just amazes me that this hasn't impacted real estate the way that it should have yet. And I would love to hear your thoughts on why.
Wow. So, the real estate industry is notorious, for being a laggard in regards to technology. My why may not be a popular answer, but in my professional experience, I think it's the truth. When you think of the average age realtor, when you think of the average realtor, they're second and third career people. They've worked at corporate America for 20, 30 years. They retire, and then they're asking themselves, what am I going to do next? You know what? Why not become a realtor? And then next thing you know, this person isn't trying to ideate or push forward, the advancements of our industry. But myself, who've been in the industry for a while, who is a bit of an opportunist and really pay attention and try to be omnipresent and just like when I saw the technology and I imagined, wow, and I stuck with it, because there's a lot of improvement and a lot of time that was needed for this technology to further advance on itself. And again, I was young enough to go through that. I have gray hairs now, but I was young enough to go through the process, to learn and to evolve along with the technology. But when you have an industry where the average realtor is 54, 55, 56 years old, respectfully, and it's not to say that you can't be that age and innovative. However, statistically speaking, most successful techpreneurs are in their mid 40s. And with that being said, I think that's a large reason why you haven't seen much innovation with voice. It's considered early. It's still advancing. What's your business model around it? How are you going to use it? How can you monetize it? A lot of those questions have plagued those who have been intrigued or interested about voice technology. And so in terms of real estate, generally speaking, I think the real estate industry, unfortunately, it's very fragmented in terms of even trying to evolve itself. I've seen some beautiful standalone technologies. And if you probably took two from over here and one from over there, and that one over there, and you put it together and maybe created this Voltron, you might have something special. But will those cultures and ideas come together? And so with DOSS, we believed that we needed to create a consumer-facing, comprehensive solution, and not a part of the great bigger problem, if you will.
Sure.
In a way of bringing it all together.
No, you're totally right. I mean, there's definitely, I've seen that in prop tech, like someone builds a tool that really needs to work in conjunction with a bunch of other tools, and as a prop tech entrepreneur, kind of where I've tried to focus on is like, just sort of say like, what do you do really well, right? So like in our case, like, we do digital marketing, website development, and then we sort of draw the line and we're like, okay, CRM, post transactions, like we have a ton of integrations, all that kind of stuff. Like there's other people that do that better than we do, right? So we sort of tried to focus in on a specific area. Could you, like, when we spoke in the past, you sort of told me a little bit about how DOSS works. For people who aren't familiar with it, what is it and how does it operate and how would a user use it, all that sort of stuff?
So on the technical side of DOSS, what we are creating is a consumer-centric marketplace that will empower a consumer to be able to search and transact real estate online. We are in that pursuit of connecting all the dots, which you hear a lot of industry, experts talk about, some of the well-funded companies talk about, but we wanted to be a company that actually mobilize that idea. And it all starts with the eyeballs. And when the idea of DOSS and voice was, how do we mobilize data like it's never been mobilized before? You're talking about one of the most data-rich industries in the world, and that's real estate. But what we've also realized was that when you start talking about the top 5 major search platforms, we took inventory and tried to quantify, and it appears that they show about 40 to 45% of the available data on any given property. But it's far more data sets out there. There's way more information on any given property than what's being, told or showed to the consumer. And what we wanted to be able to do with today's consumer in mind, that's want access to information instantly, accurate data. How can we give that to them in a very natural way? In other words, how do we humanize search? Because if you tell me any website has pre-filtered boxes, then that means you have a limited output of results.
Yep.
And so how do we make that fluid? How do we set that free? How do we allow the consumer to be able to ask what they want, how they want it in their language without any restrictions, guide, or and to be able to further improve on that, because we're not like the top 5 search engines currently built on a graphical user interface. We're built on an intelligent user interface that employs and deploys all of the artificial intelligences and the machine learnings and the image recognitions and the speech to text, text to speeches. I mean, we employ all of these technologies in order to give that user a deep dive into what they're looking for without putting in a basic query, and it still renders you 400 houses to look at.
Totally. Yeah, and it's funny because like part of when you think about it, right, if you were to ask somebody, the thing that I love about voice is that when you interact with the device and you're like, 3-bedroom home for sale in Houston, right, or whatever, like you're going to get like a gajillion results, right? Or if I'm searching up here in Vermont for a series of properties, but if you were to ask somebody like, what are you looking for in a sentence, they could totally describe it, right? And the example that I always used is when my wife and I did a couple of years down in Boston, which by the way, I loved living in Boston, but I'm happier back up here in Vermont. But when we went down there, I knew exactly what I wanted, right? She was gonna work at Mass General Hospital, so I wanted to be in walking distance to that. Because I was like, look, if we're gonna do the city thing, let's be in the city, right?
Exactly.
And then I was like, I want a 1-bedroom because I mean, the rent was like insane. So that was like clearly the largest possible we could get. And I didn't particularly want roommates, right? But then like to me, what was really important was that we had direct outside access, right? I wanted to be able to like walk out my door, turn on a grill, like, you know, be able to like get outside easily. We went and looked at a bunch of these buildings that were like, you know, skyscrapers and stuff like that. That wasn't our jam, right? But try going onto a website and searching 1-bedroom home in like Beacon Hill with direct outside access and finding a result. Forget it. Like it doesn't exist, right?
Exactly.
But with something like voice and image recognition, right? You could say like, show me every house in like, you know, Houston with bricks, like a kitchen that's painted blue and like, you know, built after 1950 and like central air, right? And they can find that for you like by pulling it out and it's like, boom, there, right? And that's to me what's so exciting about it, because all of a sudden, to your point, you're not just searching the data sets that are delivered, you're searching a combination of the images, right? The AI layered on top of that, right? And then actually helping people like go through this like giant haystack of properties, right? To find the needle they're looking for, you know?
Exactly. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. When you start talking about a competitive landscape, like exactly what we're experiencing right now. Granted, COVID is here. We don't know to what extent, but what's also intriguing is that we have a shortage of inventory and a lot of markets are booming. So you know what? You need to have, it's what they say, Bridezilla, it's home buyerzilla right now. And so it's like, okay, cool. Who's going to find the perfect property? How fast? And do you have that tool? But if you're searching on these graphical user interface platforms and you're getting these general search results, then okay, it's who's going to have the most time to sit there and comb through to find that needle in the haystack. And so, but with DOSS, if I'm able to say, hey, DOSS, show me all the properties for sale in Boston, Mass. That is between $1 million and 1.2 million. That has 2 master suites on the first floor, natural light, you know, 3 bedrooms, 2.5. I mean, you could name it. Granite countertops, wood floors with high ceilings, and literally let that be an utterance, and then go deep dive further than that, and then further than that, and then drill that search down until you come down to the 4 or 5 properties that met all of your utterances. And you know what? Hey, DOSS, schedule my appointment. I want to go see these properties on Thursday between 1 and 3 o'clock. You know, it could happen. It's happening. We're doing it. The technology already exists, you know, but it just takes somebody who has the audacity to and the patience to sit down and bring it together. And it's expensive as well. And you have to have the team that has the know-how and the skill set to develop this, because trust me, at times it seems like for me that Google and Alexa or Amazon snatches up all the great talent. So, but yeah, it's voice is where things are going. It's in a direction of singularity. And if you believe in singularity or not, it's fine. It's okay. But the reality of it is to be able to speak to your technology, it be able to give you those instant answers and report data. It has no desire to mislead you. It has no desire to lie to you. It's quoting factual information directly from the sources of the data that's being put into it.
Well, and you know, and everything that, like, you know, we've talked about that sort of increase in voice usage, you know, it's already here. Like, people don't, I think, already realize how much they're using voice. But I mean, as you think about it, like into cars, into smart homes, like on your phone, like, and it's that sort of ease of use that's kind of the next step, right? So first it's there, but you know, when we were talking last week, you had said sort of about like, Alexa, this takes demands. Like, Alexa, do this, Alexa, do that, right? But getting to the point where you can sort of kind of have a conversation where it can articulate, where it can like help you move to that next level. Do you think voice is there yet?
Yes, I actually do. I think that I shared with you, and I remember this conversation I had with a particular investor. And he was honest and he was candid, which most investors are. And he said, Bobby, be honest with you, I think voice is gimmicky. And I was like, what? You know, I was like, did he just say that? And I'm on this call with him, and it's like 250 to 300 people watching as he's practically telling me, I think what you guys are doing, voice is gimmicky. And so I had to think about what he said real fast, obviously. And I said, let me guess, you're using Alexa. And am I right? And he concurred. And I said, then if that's the case, then I could get that you think voice is gimmicky, because Alexa is practically a demand command center. That's it. You know, and most people right now, let's just be honest with everybody that's watching this. You primarily use Alexa for 3 reasons: to listen to music, to turn on your lights in your house, and to set a timer. That's the use case. It's unfortunate that most people don't really understand or are limited to the use case of the device that they're engaging.
Totally.
And guess what's the mainstream device right now? Alexa.
Yeah.
So that's everybody's ceiling of what that technology can do. But yet with DOSS, you can literally have a conversation, meaning that I can engage it. I could drill down my queries, and I could clear it. I could start back over and drill down a whole nother query. And on my mobile device or desktop, it actually shows me these adjusted drilled down results. And that's not happening today with Alexa. My team and I believed in you taking more of an AI agnostic approach, because a fact of the matter is, and being that we're the pioneers of voice and home search, is that no one entity, no one tech conglomerate is good at everything.
Yeah.
So you almost have to be AI agnostic, which is what we've done. Some are good at structured data, some are good at unstructured data, whatever the case may be. You have to figure that out for your use case. But for our use case, we've figured out that, you know, how we have to design it in order to give a very rich user experience that's very similar to talking to a person, to talking to a realtor.
Yeah, because I mean, when the broker takes a phone call, someone's like, hey, like, you know, like, so, you know, a lot of our clients are in second home markets, right? And so what do people want in the second home market? Well, you know, they might want, you know, for example, like, you know, they might want to have like a view of the mountain, you know, the ski area, right? But they might want big trees, or they might want, you would describe all of this stuff. You want, like, I want to be within certain distance of X, Y, or Z, right? In these like ski towns that we work in, right? Or like, you know, as you would describe like a conversation for someone that's looking for a beach home or whatever, there's things about that, like at a beach home, like, yeah, like having high ceilings so that like the wind blows through and it's super hot, right? These are all the kind of things that you can articulate in a conversation, which you can't type into Zillow. Like, you can't be like, hey, Zillow, show me every house that's got, you know, big, you know, that's got like big trees and a great view. It doesn't, you can't produce those results out. But in a conversation between a broker and a prospective buyer, that's the kind of thing that comes out. And I totally agree on the device. I think people are going to get there. And when they get there, it's going to be people like you, Bobby, and DOSS who've led the way and brought something really cool to the industry.
Yeah, we feel the same way. We do believe that when you start talking about the largest purchasers of homes right now, you know, is a 33, 34-year-old millennial. And you know, when you start thinking of the characteristics and habits of this generation, you know, they want the best information, the best service, and at a fair price.
Yeah.
And what we're doing at DOSS is addressing that entire spectrum. You know, even with our brokerage services offering, you know, being able to make the sale of a home more economical, and by reducing, you know, the cost to sell, and for buyers, making home ownership more affordable by giving them a rebate back to lower that closing cost. And so when you start talking about DOSS and connecting all of that continuation of from search to mortgage to home servicing to insurance to home warranty to close, you know, bringing that all together in this very fragmented industry that literally requires you to almost, it's a miracle when you think about it. 800 FICOs and $100 million in a bank, but if you're getting a mortgage, if you think about, or a real estate transaction, if you think about how many people that you have to touch and that process, it is still a miracle because there's so many things that's bigger than you that can go wrong. And what we wanted to be able to do is better streamline that, to ease that, to make that just a little bit easier for today's consumer. That's a little bit more tech savvier than an industry that was created by baby boomers, for baby boomers, in an era where now the millennial is the dominant buyer.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when you said last week, you said DOSS is using the best technology in America to make homeownership more affordable. I thought that was one of the best mantras and mottos that I've heard in a long time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Listen, Bobby, this was great. I think we passed each other at Inman a couple years ago when you spoke there. I'm looking forward to the next time that we get together, that I'm not in my attic, which in Vermont in late June feels like probably just another day in the life in Houston. But thanks for the time today, and keep up the good work, because you're really on it.
You know what? Thank you so much. Thank you for the time. Thank you for talking DOSS with me. We're extremely excited, and we look forward to rolling out and changing the way people search and transact properties around the world. Thank you so much.
Yeah.